Welcome to the Rich Bitch Show. I'm your host, Candice Lee, a soulful multi-six-figure business mentor helping you create next-level wealth and alignment in your life and business. I believe that having a high-quality business that delivers high-quality results will feed a life and future of wealth, health, happiness, and abundance from wherever you want in the world. I'm here every week to help you vibe higher, reclaim your power, and create the reality and wealth that you truly desire. So let's get started.
I heard that you just had a client quit her job, which is like what we all want to do in this space, right?
Yes. So she messaged yesterday. She's like, I know I'm not a client anymore, but I just want to give you notice. I gave my 2 weeks at my job. And now here's the kicker though. This was a job that she loved. Okay, let's backtrack. When client, we're not going to use names, when this beautiful human came to me, she was like, I love my job, but obviously I want to make more money in my business. I love what I'm doing in my business too. I've got the best of both worlds. I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, right. But once we like really are in our own mission here, nothing beats that. So I'm just like in her journey. I'm like, I absolutely respect that. How would you like things to go? And so for her to be celebrating quitting a job that she loved was just like next level life upgrades, right? It's one thing. Yeah, we celebrate leaving the job that's sucking our soul dry, but like when you are leaving the job that you actually love because you've built so much security and sustainability in your own company, hello. Like we love that. So she came in, like most of our clients, really exhausted, was trying all the things, had done all the marketing programs. She was, getting sales, but they weren't the sales she wanted, but she didn't know how to create the sales she wanted. So she's like, I'm just selling single sessions. So there was no reoccurring income. Every month she was basically starting over again. And so when she came into Six Figure Coach, so she's a recent, let's call it graduate of Six Figure Coach from our last round. And when she came in, she was like, okay, I finally had a 5K month, but like, I need this set up in a way that I can continue this and add on to it. So obviously, Kevin knows, that's what we do in that space. Like, that's what Six Figure Coach is for. It's like, let's get you the foundations of a scalable business in a way that aligns with you so that your structure is solid, so your freedom is solid, and you can compound reoccurring high ticket income. So she went from having, here and there, $180 to $200 sales, which felt like a stretch to her at the time, to really mastering her money mindset, completely reinventing her messaging, finally like recognizing herself, showing up in her ownership in her messaging, which we'll get into that, but that's like the moneymaker in your copywriting, and selling high ticket revolving door programs that created that high ticket reoccurring income for her. So now instead of having $180 trickle in here, there, and everywhere, it was like $1,500, $1,000, $2,000. And that makes all of the difference. So when the month before she was done in Six Figure Coach, it's a 3-month container. And by the second month, she was at 10K months. And so to see, right? So to see just the change in how she showed up, how she felt about her business, and was able to then take that and just very effortlessly and sustainably continue to grow her spaces and focus on those spaces instead of constantly chasing something new, makes me so happy for the life that she now gets to live.
Yeah, that's amazing. So she came in like under 5K a month, selling what sounds like low ticket. I always define low ticket as just under 4-figure per purchase. Yeah. So she came in selling low ticket, making less than 5K a month. We don't have to name names. I know you like to call your clients Betty. Everybody's Betty.
Betty.
So Betty was at this place. She was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go bigger. I'm ready to be more aligned with it. She came into Six Figure Coach, and then it was like 5K months within 2 months into it and 10K months by the 3-month mark.
No. She came in close to 5K. So we sealed that in. She had a 5K. You guys get it, where it's like, oh, I'm making money. Oh, it dropped. Oh. And so like they were inconsistent, but she was making money. But by the second month, she had locked in 10K months.
Wow.
And right. So, let's say 6 to 8 weeks. I want to say it was 6 weeks. I actually have like a story sequence I did on it, and I actually saved it that day because I want to say we were 6 weeks in, and I was like, I know she's going towards 20. Like I can already see where she's going. And this is because she was executing. She was making the changes. She was showing up, right? Asking for the feedback. That's why that container is set up the way it is. I'm so in it with them, and you get it. So she's like, okay, like what can I do here about this message? What could I have done differently on this? How do I approach this sales conversation? We really did a lot of the money mindset, her beliefs, the way she approached conversations, the way she approached her marketing and her messaging. And obviously that stacked with the way her business model was now delivering the results she wanted to get to her clients was just a game changer. Yeah. So it just made me so proud, like the work that she's done and like who she's become, because we all know that that's such a big component to it too.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's always twofold, right? Because it's always the way that you shift internally and who you become, paired with the new strategies that you start implementing and what starts changing on the laptop, in the content, in the messaging, the way that you show up for your clients. And I know that a big buzz that's been going around lately, we've talked about this a little bit, is like the shift from the boss babe era. That's what they call it, right? The boss babe era
Culture.
what are they calling? What's the new wave?
It's the soft girl era. It's, us women that are, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. I feel like it's most of us women that have been through the little bit of the hustle era. We've been burned. We've been burned by the hustle era.
You got burned by being a boss babe, and now you're ready for your soft girl era.
Yes. And it's like that era where it all also gets to exist. So, too, we talked about this, like all summer, I was like redefining for my community what that gets to mean and look like. And so we're calling it your wealthy girl summer, your soft and wealthy girl summer, your nourished and wealthy girl summer, because being soft doesn't mean you can't run a company. It doesn't mean you can't have a mission. It doesn't mean you can't be like, I have a huge ass dreams and I'm going to see it through. It means how you approach it and how you set it up to support how you approach it is everything. And so that's so much of the work that we do. Huge example right there was with, I almost said her name, Betty, this past flight. Because when you actually have that stability and that security and that safety, which is what like brings that feminine softness out, you can, yesterday I spent the afternoon at the sauna and the spa and the pool. Like you can do those things and you can be that version of you and you can allow that version of you to exist. But this whole boss babe culture where we're like normalizing chaos and busy, in my opinion, because that's how most clients are coming to me, is in a state of that. And scarcity, lack of clarity is ending. And I'm so happy. So happy.
Yeah, that was a vibe for a minute, like that 2018, 2019, like bubble exploding on the coaching era. It was like, let's 100 messages a day. Something's got to stick at some point. So tell us about from your, because I know you didn't stay there for long, but you had to have been there for a minute. And then you were in your own boss babe era that looked a little bit different. So tell us about just like from your own experience, and I'm sure it will resonate with a lot of people, of like, what was like, okay, this sort of activity and lifestyle represented boss babe for me. And then I shifted into this sort of activity or lifestyle that represents soft girl, and what sort of changes it's brought about in your life.
Oh my gosh, my life has changed so much. So much. So I'm going to start with, and it's funny, we always start here in these episodes because I'm hoping you guys are catching on to the importance, but it started with my beliefs. So basically starts with the baby entrepreneurial version of you who thinks that business is hard. You have to hustle. And I'm not going to say there's no hustle, but to me, it's more execution. I'm not like grinding it till the sun goes down. I'm executing efficiently and simply. But when you start, it's this is such a big world and this industry or entrepreneurship in general, it's also new. And you really do put on that assumption and those beliefs. I'm going to have to work really, really hard. We might have grown up thinking certain things, being told certain things. I know I was. And there's this season which I love phrasing as the slow down before you speed up. Clean that up before you go big. Clean that up before you really grow. If not, you will burn yourself out. And I learned the hard way. So my clients don't hopefully have to, right? So that for me was like, okay, well, I have to wear all the hats and I have to do all the things and I have to go hard and not ask for help. And it was just very, very heavy, very heavy. I also had two very, very, very small children at home at the time. And I really thought that I shouldn't be asking for help yet. I shouldn't be outsourcing it. I can do this all myself. Everyone says you can do it all yourself. And I put myself into adrenal fatigue, hormone imbalance, and extremely ill, extremely, extremely ill. And I remember waking up, I'd built the dream and I took my family to Florida for the winter. And I woke up one morning and I looked at Brian, who was my life partner at the time. And my face was I was getting scabs and eczema around my mouth and my eyes. And I was I could not function. I could not function. And I didn't know what to do because every mentor I had up until that moment, and we shared a bit about, so I'll kind of tie this into last week's episode in a second in here. But I didn't know what to do because up until that moment, every mentor I'd had was masculine approaches and hustle strategies and hustle techniques. And even just the way my business was set up and the way I was suggested to set up my business was not for quality of life, not even, and therefore quality of impact. So it was that moment, like when I couldn't open my mouth without skin cracking and being so uncomfortable in my own body, that I was like, if I don't have my quality of life, I don't have quality of impact. And I sure as hell don't have the quality of energy that my children deserve. And that was it. That was my burning down moment. I actually think that you kind of circulated into my world with Sierra within months after that. So yeah, it was that season we were down south, and that's when I was like, I need to get support from somebody who's living the results I want, but in a way I want to live them, not just has the results. And that I firmly believe, like when you are hiring a mentor, you want to make sure that their life values align with yours, you align with their day to day, the way that they approach business, the way that they see business in life. Like you truly want to make sure that those components are aligned, because I didn't want to sit at my computer every day all day. There were so many things that I didn't want to be doing, but I thought I had to.
And then at that point, it's like, why am I doing this in the first place? Like, at least if I worked a regular job, I would be done at 5 p.m. and I could turn it off. In the entrepreneurial space, especially in the coaching space, it's like, you're always on. It's always you. Like, you are the product, so you're always on. So if you're not in love with it, if it doesn't feel aligned, if it doesn't feel like you're making a difference in a healthy way, you're it's just not gonna work for you. And that is, I've never actually heard that story from that side. So thank you for sharing that. That is
I don't think I've ever shared the depths of how unwell I was.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's a testament to, like, when you, like you said, starts with your beliefs, you make the decision to believe differently, to give yourself permission to believe things that are in alignment with what you want, instead of believing that it has to be a certain way. Doors open. People come out of nowhere in ways that you could never expect previously. Things just start to click. And I think they call that synchronicity and manifestation.
That's right. And I was like being guided. My symptoms were guiding me at that point, redirecting me. Let's use that word instead. My symptoms redirected me because as someone who started in the health space, I knew better. I knew what my body was telling me, and I continued to fight against it. And this goes back to what I said at the very, very beginning of this episode, because now that I'm pulled back, it's easy for me to see this, but even put yourself in these shoes for a second. A lot of the actions I was taking, a lot of the things I was believing were rooted in fear or scarcity. Well, you have to hustle because there's never enough. Oh, you have to keep going because it might run out. Like, just really looking back, I'm like, such toxic beliefs. But unfortunately, our parents developed them through situations that are less than ideal, possibly, or just having really bad circumstances in a moment and turning it into a belief, experiencing something and wanting to project that onto us to try, obviously, to protect us, but it does the opposite. And now, like, one of the ways this has shaped my life is every word that comes out of my mouth in front of my children, I am so conscious of and so aware of, because I refuse, at least I'm doing my best to refuse to project anything that won't serve them in the future as a human, as a husband, as a wife, as a mother, as a father, all of the roles they're going to play in their life.
Yeah. And I mean, it is like that. It's like, if we don't heal and correct the stuff that was given to us, then we just, it's like that meme. Maybe you guys have seen this one before, but it's like the dad, like, hitting the kid, and then the kid is like yelling at the smaller kid. It's a family lineage. And then there's one person like holds up a shield, and then he's like handing a flower to the next kid.
Oh, I have seen
like
that. Yeah.
Painting a picture. And so it's just like going from this place of like abuse to creative freedom through our lineage. And so it sounds like you're doing that, and that's amazing. And I'm sure that's why, a lot of clients resonate with what you're doing. I know that I did. I know that I came into your program because of the way that you built your foundations to create a business that was a tool to experience more freedom, a tool to experience a higher quality of life. Whereas everybody else in this space, like you said before, it was the hustle culture. It was like, let's build a business so that we can work on our business 24/7 and come from this place of ego of like, look at my business. If you're listening to this audio, I'm holding my business out in front of me, right? It's like, I don't even want you to see who I am. I just want to hide behind how awesome my business is. And 2018, 2019, like that was a vibe. Like everybody was trying to do that. Everybody wanted to have the biggest business to hold in front of them. But then eventually it became like you said, oh my goodness, my health is faltering. My relationships are faltering. Like things are not going well.
Wow.
In
And
my
who am I? Who am I? Like so much lost identity from that season,
Mhm.
so many crumbles, so many people just walked away because they had lost themselves so much. So yeah, looking back, what a ride. What a ride. So happy to be here and like seeing what's coming up and seeing what people are creating and choosing for themselves, because I would say still to this day, it's still very, I'd be so curious if you're listening and this is resonating, just DM us because I want to hear where you're at. Because like I say this because I still have a lot of clients that come to me that have created the most perfectly curated and aesthetic grids. Okay. They've gone viral, they got their 10K, 20K followers, whatever, but they are not making money. Their content is not converting, just, regardless of what industry they're in, and they're hiding. We get on our first call and I'm like, hey, where are you? Who are you? Who am I hiring? Who am I getting on calls with? I don't know who I'm interacting with. Therefore, your content's great. Yes, I'm going to like your content. I'm going to save your content, which is going to support you going more viral as a consumer. But I'm not going to be like, oh, yes, like I really align with her. I really like the way she communicates this to me. I really like the way, that she represents herself, whatever it is. I definitely want to be in her world. That part is missing. And I think that's where a lot of people, coaches, mentors, all the things in that hustle season. And we're like, again, we're getting there. We're coming out of it. We're like, I just can't do this anymore because they're not getting the sales because they're so busy hiding behind hopes of validation from their business instead of recognizing themselves and then taking that recognized energy and putting that out into the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of my favorite Candace Lee quotes is, you don't have business problems, you have personal problems that are coming through in your business. Can you speak on that some more for us?
I feel like there was a season where you probably heard that a lot from me. I can think back to isn't that funny what we go through? I think that if you are misaligned in an area of your life, if you are allowing boundaries to be crossed in your life, if you are not standing firm in what you stand for in any area of your life, that will always trickle into your business. And it's not because it's like, oh, if it's going over here, it's trickling into your business. It's dysregulating you.
Mhm.
It is misaligning you and then fogging your aura, fogging your energy, fogging your clarity, fogging who you are as an individual that is in trying to show up on social media to be seen globally, might we add. So how do you expect to be seen? How do you expect your light to actually shine when you are allowing these circumstances or these situations in your personal life to keep dimming it?
Mhm.
And so everything that takes place in your life, I firmly believe, you'll notice if you're not cleaning up your leadership, if you're not cleaning up, these little gaps that need to be cleaned up, we all have them. Like how human of us, like it's going to happen, but it's how you lead yourself. It's how you continue to notice, pivot and realign, and then continue to move so that you eliminate that fog from building up.
What a good way to put it too, with the light and the fog and the
Yeah.
and I think that ties directly into, you've touched on it a couple times already in this episode, but like tell us point blank about how, just like you said, if you are not experiencing the quality of life that you want, then you're not going to deliver the quality of impact that you want. Then you're not going to get the quality of clients that you want. Then you're not going to make the quality of money that you want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so talk to us about the importance of, you talked about earlier, like I was afraid to get help. I was afraid to ask for help. I was in my boss babe era. I thought I had to do this all on my own. But the moment that you got help from someone who was not only doing what you wanted to do, but the way that you wanted to do it, it changed your whole business from the top down. But then it also changed the way that clients were coming into your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Everything changed. And again, because I started to speak to clients I wanted to serve, I started speaking to clients that had similar values. I went value driven. Like my business is value driven. That's why it's centered around quality of life. So I have this saying, I say this a lot in my content, but your quality of life and aliveness. So think about your essence, think about how you're feeling. Like, are you actually dancing in the kitchen? Or are you like, oh, I have to hurry because like this and this and this? Like your level of aliveness and quality of life will overflow into your business, into your impact, into your children, into your bank account, but so will your burnout. And so you have to choose.
Lack of aliveness.
Right? You have to choose what type of overflow you would like to experience and then receive back, because everything's obviously always circulating, just like money is. But if you're burned out and then you're pouring that burnout into everything, what type of results do you expect to get? Do you really think that that is sustainable? Do you really really think that that is going to be scalable. And so when we come back into our core, first call with a client, when they come into Six Figure Coach, we get these one-on-one intensives, which to me is like a must. A must, a must, a must. We spend 2 hours, you leave, you know exactly what your new business model looks like, or we've like restructured the way you deliver current programs. You're locked in on your message, locked in on what you represent, and you actually feel aligned. And therefore the execution is super easy. Everything feels aligned. You're super magnetic at that point, right? Everything you do is truly coming from a place of excitement and purity and clarity, certainty. So when we have that call, one of my first questions is, what are your values? What do you value? Because if I know what you value, one, I can hold you in it, right? When you're wobbling, when I notice you straight away, when you're trying to make a decision, I can hold you into your values and help you make a value-based decision. Anything to do with it, but we build from that place. So when you're, I kind of feel like I forgot where we're going, but like, I feel like that is just such a really important component, right? Because if you're not aligned and if you're not feeling good about those things, eventually you reach a point where you don't feel any charge around it. There's no excitement. There's nothing there for you. It's more forced energy. You're like now pushing against resistance, and you can only do that for so long. We all have a threshold. So there'll be seasons where you have to pivot. There'll be seasons, life seasons where, I know come spring, I'm preparing my business for summer because I'm like living at the beach with my kids basically in the summer. So like that's a season of itself. And I'm like preparing my marketing, preparing my business, preparing everything for that. And that's like once a year, I do this like little slight pivot. And then come fall, we do a slight pivot back. And that's just what works for me and for my values. And you're going to have your own version of that in your own way. And it's like just knowing to have the support for that, to know who to ask, to know where to go, and to feel safe and secure in your own mission and your own leadership to do those things. And I think that's what I lacked when I couldn't ask for help, right? When I was like blocking myself from asking for help for that season, it was like, well, it was such an ego move. Like, oh, I can handle all of this. And really it made my business and my life that much more simple to have the guidance of somebody who's done it in a way that I wanted to, because I had never done that yet. So having the support and the guidance and the redirection and the feedback from somebody who's already done what you want to do in a way you want to do it is always going to speed up your results and simplify that, as long as you lead yourself into that support. Ask the questions, get the feedback, ask for the support that you need, and everything becomes so much more simple.
And that's where the certainty comes in too, is because there's so many moments where you're like, did I do this right? Are they gonna like this? Is anyone gonna watch anything that I've worked on for the last week? And then when you have that mentorship, to have someone be like, yeah, no, you're good. You can just sit there and be like, oh my God, like now I can just keep going full force. Or they can be like, yeah, this is pretty good, but what if you did it like this? And sometimes you're so deep in your own stuff that you can't see the other possibility. And then
especially in life stuff, right? Like I just want to bring that back. You mentioned when life comes in, like when you're deep in a life season, or you're experiencing something, or you're having relationship issues, or your mood, like just pivots in life. It's so hard sometimes to see through that fog.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I actually stole this one from you too, is I think you were talking about seeing blind spots. You have a knack for seeing energetic blind spots in your clients. So I'll give my quick personal anecdote here, and then you tell us about how you intuitively see these things for people and help them steer around them. But basically in my coaching that I do now around like dating and relationships, that's a big part of it. Like, yes, here's the blueprint. Here's how you approach women. Here's how you connect with people. Here's how you tell stories so that you keep conversations engaging, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But beyond that, there's blind spot coaching, because just because you have the instruction manual doesn't mean that you're actually executing it properly. And I think that that's such a valuable part of this high touch mentorship, is to get this contact with somebody who, as you said, not only has done it, but has done it in a way that you want to do it, and feels the ways that you want to feel, brings that same type of aliveness and electric magnetic energy that you want in your own business and to show up with your clients. Just get somebody else to give you a hand with it, right? So about bringing it back to the way that you do blind spot coaching for your client.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I love what you just said, because you can be following it, but doing it in a way could be better, could be more efficient, could be more aligned to you. And I think that's one of the reasons why I value high touch, high level support so much, because I'm not just in your business with you. I'm not just like helping you make money. I'm helping you become the best version of you that you've ever ever been while you do the biggest work you've ever done in the simplest of ways. And there's so many moving parts to that. So you can be executing on something, but doing it against your values. So if I know what your values are and you're telling me how you're going about executing something, I can help you find a way to do that actually makes sense for how you want to be doing it. This is why, like, I don't believe in cookie cutter approaches, because you're coming to me as a bio individual, as your own being, own person, own values, own morals, own desires, own vision of how you want this to go. And I want to make sure that you're executing in the simplest and most efficient way for you and for the result you want. And so much of that is happening in the blind spots, in the spots that you don't see, because again, you haven't done this yet. And so as somebody who's done that and, like, I would say mastered leading others to that, I'm up here looking down, and like such a projector of me looking down, right? That's what we're here to do, is like see things from above. And I'm like, oh, she went here where we could have just like stayed straight, right? Oh, we're jumping off the rails here, and it's taking her more work to get back on the rails and keep moving. Let's clean that up. Okay, now she's moving quicker to get from A to B. Now that she's at B, how do we want to get to C? And it's so easy for me to grab you as you're coming off the rails and catch that blind spot and see and have a conversation about, okay, do you want examples? Do you need just feedback? Do we just need to have a conversation? Are there beliefs wrapped around this that we can clear and create new ones for you? Like, what is actually happening so that we can allow this to be more simple and for you to get what you want?
Tell us about human design. Tell us about how it changed. As soon as you were talking about, what do you say, a bio individual?
Yeah.
As soon as you said that, I was like, we got to talk about human design. And then you even talked about being a projector. I was like, we got to go deep into this and how Candace is like queen projector. And I didn't know I was a projector until I was already in your program, and then we found out, and I was like, oh shit, that's why this all made so much sense to me. But now
it changed everything.
And you help everybody too with it, right? Like you don't just help projectors, because you have a whole library of like, okay, if you're a manifestor, you do this kind of stuff at these kind of times with this kind of whatever. Approach. If you're a generator, you do this. So yeah, tell us about how getting into human design changed your life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm definitely not like the human design guru. I don't want people to come to me for human design specifically, but let's say this. I love business strategies and business models, but I am so strong in the energetic side of things. Like, I can read your mind before you know what you're thinking. I can just like see when your energy is off. I can see when beliefs are holding you back. I can see so many of these moving components that are misaligned, and it's really easy for me to feel and read them before you even know something's off. And I never understood why I was so good at that. One of my human design gifts is knowing what people need. And I think it's so interesting because my whole life it'd be like, well, how did you know? Or how did you know that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just knew that, right? I couldn't ever make sense of it. And human design helped me really own who I am, what I'm really, really strong at. And it came into my life, my first year in business, actually. Wendy had done a reading for me. So she was into human design reading. She had just gotten certified. And so I did a reading. It's actually on this podcast, like way back, like early, probably the first 20 episodes. It's in there somewhere. If you scroll way back, she does a live reading. So you can kind of pull up your human design. You just go to myhumandesign.com. You put in your birth information and your birth time, and you figure out what energy type you are. And there's 5 energy types, and we all have different strengths, and we are all here to do different types of work or do work in a different way. So we have our own bio-individual approaches. Within the energy types, there are also different profiles. So Kevin and I are both projectors, but we're also very different projectors, right? So it's always so fascinating to really, I'm going to use the word unlock clients, only because I've had like 3 private clients recently be like, you have completely unlocked me, right? They're like just flying in their businesses. They're feeling fully alive. Everything feels right. They're like, I just feel like I've been let out of jail. I feel like I'm unlocked. Like something feels so good. But when you remove the boxes of shoulds that you placed around you because somebody told you them at some point, or you pick them up from society, and you realize, wait a minute, it's okay that somebody else is meant to do that way. I'm not though. Yep. So as a projector, we are really good at seeing things. Think about a projector screen. Think about what a projector does. And we're also really good at, as long as our energy is clear, we are very magnetic. Our aura is very open and wide. A projector casts out on a screen. So it's like you're choosing, as long as you are recognizing yourself. I remember we did a lot of work on this.
A lot.
Like when you're because again, as a projector who doesn't know they're a projector and we come into this, it's like, whoa, like we can really unlock who we are, our magnetism, our voice, our certainty when we start to recognize ourselves instead of going out into the world and hoping to be recognized. If you take your recognition and you are recognizing yourselves and you are just making sure that you feel locked in on who I am, what I'm doing, like how do I want the world to see me? How do I want the world to feel me? And then you put that out onto your projector screen, you walk around the world, you are going to get all the invitations of your wildest dreams. And you also get to practice saying no to certain things. Because as an unrecognized projector, you end up saying yes to invitations that are actually should be no's. And so learning my human design, developing the boundaries that I needed were all really, really important moving components to me becoming who I am. But most importantly, I love using the human design with clients so that they can understand how to be more magnetic in their messaging, how to approach their sales and their selling, how to take sales psychology and fuse it with their approach to showing up in this world, to either initiating or inviting or responding, and how to use it to their benefit in business. But the what requires the most work behind it is the deconditioning, is the like, right, shoot, I keep doing that. And I know I'm not supposed to do it that way, but it's like we're conditioned to do things a certain way. Behave, think, believe, act, approach, hide, hold back. All of the things that we do is a part of our conditioning. And so we have to decondition that. And essentially, I always call it the reinvention. So it's like you want to make it fun. You want to make it playful so it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel exhausting. And you want to be like, hey, who am I deciding I get to be? Which is where a lot of the belief works, the core energetics come in, all of the pieces that help us establish who we are becoming. So you have to decondition your way of approaching, your way of thinking, your way of shoulding all over yourself. Like, oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. No, actually, if it's a should, you should be going the opposite way, right? So I had a client yesterday, we were on a call and she's like, well, I feel like I should. And I'm like, okay, but do you believe you need it? Well, no, but I'm like, stop, you're shoulding. Like you now know a should tells you to go the other way. You need to come back into your beliefs, come back into your leadership. Like it is not necessary. Now go create some proof of that, right? So when we execute and we allow ourselves to get out of our own way, we can then stack the proof. What I notice with, generators and mani-gens, for example, who like really need to avoid the pressure of shoulds, they get so caught up in their conditioning that they have a hard time creating the proof of what's possible when they stop shoulding, stop following the shoulds and the coulds, and they actually follow joy and excitement, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. So much to unpack there. I know for me personally, it was a big process that did feel like unlocking the real me, because it was like, it like gives you permission. It's kind of crazy. It's like you learn about, it's like you are yourself your whole life, right? You're born as yourself. You're like seeing through a certain lens. And then you hear from an external source that the reason you always felt a certain way was by design, was like you were meant to feel that way. You're not weird for being that way. And so then you're like, yes. Oh shit, like it's okay for me to be like this. You give yourself permission for that. And I know for me, like, I don't know if it's like the type of projector I am or like projectors in general, but it was the waiting for the invitation was is like the biggest key. And as soon as I learned that, I think I learned that from you. I think you're the one who told me that. But it was like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, hold on, I'll call you back. Like, hold on. And I went and I started journaling and I went back through like my entire life. And I was like, dude, every time that anything got messed up in my life, it was because I thought I should do something, thought I had to do something a certain way, and went and tried to like push and force and make it happen without being invited to go do it. And anytime that anything worked out perfectly and just completely lined up and it was effortless, it was because I knew what I wanted, knew what I was worthy of, knew what I deserved, had the clarity on it, had the focused vision on it. And then someone was like, oh, Kevin, I think you'd be great for this. Oh, Kevin, like, why don't you just hella serendipitous? Why don't we just come over for ice cream later? Like, let's just do that. And everything just perfect. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. So yeah, cannot recommend more highly figuring out what your human design is and then working with it as opposed to it. It's like if you're going through life in this river of energy, and we all are, it's like you might as well know which way the river is flowing and then paddle with it instead of trying to like, oh, want to get over there, even though like the river's flowing down.
I love that example. Yeah. Flow with it. Find which way your current goes, how it best goes there, and just allow yourself to be unlocked. Like, wow, life could be that much more simple. Maybe you aren't bad at sales or marketing. Maybe you're just trying too hard to be somebody you're not. So just food for thought. Check it out.
Talk to us about how, like, just piggybacking off of that, of like how your sales processes changed when you got unlocked, and how you came into this place where, sales got to be easier, content creation got to be easier. You got to decide what was true for you because you're like, oh shit, I'm a projector. I get to project this all outward.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get to wait for soul aligned invitations that are a full yes. Because here's the thing, us projectors, I think it's like we're like 22% of the world. And I specifically am a 2-5 projector. So I am like a hermit leader, basically. So the heretic hero. And there's a belief. So this is where you want to be cautious. And like, I try not to give anything too much meaning. We have limited sources of energy, but when we do perform, we are extremely efficient, which is why Kevin here is our operations manager. We love efficiency over here. So when we think about our energy and when we're going to serve, lead, support, guide, that's what we're here to do, is teach, lead, guide, right? Coach. We want it to be aligned, and we want it to make sure it's a full yes and full exchange. And that's why I truly believe too, if you're a projector and you're like chasing this concept of thinking you need to have a low ticket business model, or thinking you need to go operate like a mani-gen, and you are like burning yourself ragged, rethink that and actually ask yourself how you want to receive those exchanges. Because for me, it just never filled me up. I never felt like I was actually getting the quality of my exchange, because I actually know a 3-minute voice clip to my client can radically change their entire week and the projection and trajectory of their business. And so the more I started to actually recognize that and see that, I'm like, okay, no, like there is so much value in this exchange, and I deserve to be compensated for that. And so it took me obviously working through my money mindset and upgrading my wealth identity, which is like why we have the audio tracks that we have for our clients. It's a must. But when I recognize, okay, I'm a projector, and at the like years ago, I was taught, as we said at the beginning, like these really masculine driven ways of like, well, you have to follow up and you have to start a conversation and you have to have a script and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. And the whole time I'm in my head, like, if I have to follow up on them to get a sale, what in the world is that coaching container going to look like? Right? If I have to babysit them and convince them to do better for themselves, am I going to have to convince them to want more for themselves the whole time we're working together? So like the follow-up approach, honestly, just like I'm not going to teach you to follow up. I'll never teach you to follow up. I will teach you to strategically speak to those individuals in your content that are ready to buy. I will help you use your messaging to develop your audience's own leadership and develop that sense of being self-led to come into your spaces, because that's what you want in your spaces. And that's basically what I did in that season. So as I learned, okay, I'm here to be invited, and I'm here to make sure I'm recognizing myself. So recognizing myself, and this works for all human designs because I've literally tested across the board. You want to make sure that you are recognizing yourself. You want to make sure that you know who you are. You're not second guessing. Like, think certainty. Your shoulders are back, right? Chest is out, chin is out. Go back a couple episodes. It's huge. Being so certain in who you are, what you're doing, what that does for other people, and then taking that, turning that into the message that you share with the world will create the invitations of your dreams, or that will give the rest of the, industry or your audience something to respond to. So many of us in society are generators. You're here to respond to something, but that them responding gives me the invitation. So, but when clients reach out, when someone comments on something, I'm like, this is an invitation for me. When someone follows me, I'm like, that's still an invitation for me to share content with them. So it's like, I get to own my space. I just don't have to chase them. I don't have to attack them. I am so tired of that. Hey, oh my gosh, thanks for following. What do you do? I'm like, read my bio. Like, let's not go there. I just can't. I cannot. I'm like, there and probably some really beautiful relationships I could be building. So don't get me wrong. It's not all bad. But like as a 2-5 projector, unless you're going to go deep with me, I don't want to do it. Like I'm here to, I want to go deep with you. I want to have like big conversations. And if I'm not having that, I want to go hermit and protect my energy so that when I come back to serve, I'm like serving from like prime energy. So that's where the whole, I guess, giving myself permission to change my business model to work 1 to 3 hours a day. I was like, right, this is why I feel so called to do that. That's why I feel called to work less, but charge more. This is why I feel called to have a simplified approach. Like projectors are here to simplify and create efficiency for you. So it's funny because my whole mission was to go first. My whole mission was to clean these things up and learn what I had to learn so I could go first and model and represent that and then lead the way. And in that, I had to develop my boundaries so that I obviously didn't get too wrapped up in it, given my conditioning, and continue to decondition myself to have nourished success, right? And that's our projector life theme is success. So this changed the way I sell because I started to really come from a recognized place of certainty. I started to really emphasize storytelling. I do have all upper defined pieces of my chart. For those of you that are familiar with human design, I am a self-projected mental projector, which I've been told is incredibly rare. Not sure. We like to talk things out over here. So that being said, I would use that strength and storytell. I would use that and really just stay in my ownership and be like, here's your invitation to respond to, and I'll meet you in my DMs. But until then, I'm not going to follow up. I'm not going to be like, hey, I seen you see my stories. Hey, thanks for liking my post. What resonated with you? Like, no, I'm going to continue to create really powerful content that will continue to transform your life, your way of thinking, your approach, how you see business. And I'll be here when you're ready to lead yourself into the work. I'll be here when you're ready to meet me in the middle so we can go deep and get you what you want. But in the meantime, really allowing my nervous system to calm down around the chasing aspect and really come into, well, at the end of the day, what do I really want? And how do I really want that to go? So what's required of me? Have that. And it was a lot of my own inner thoughts, inner belief, and leadership. And then the recognition piece when I'm showing up and creating stories for you guys, creating content for you, hiring so that we can have wicked experiences like this for you. All of the moving pieces.
Hell yeah. And that was such a great way to frame like how important it is to recognize yourself in all aspects of life, and then especially in coaching, and then what it looked like for Candace individually to recognize herself as a projector and come forward like that. Talk to us about, because I see your face so funny. You're like talking about, oh, I'm a projector, beaming. Oh, talking about, oh, we're simplifying businesses and making tons of money, beaming. And you're like, low ticket. You're like grimace. Talk to us about why it's wrong. I'm doing air quotes because it's not a moral issue. God's not mad at you. But talk to us about the pitfalls of low ticket sales.
I love that. I'm going to cut in there real quick first. I was yesterday just because now, so you guys that are listening, we are now all over social media. You can see Kevin and I. Come hang out with us, grab a coffee, juice, whatever the hell you're drinking. Just pull us up on YouTube on your TV. Go on TikTok or Instagram and see our little clips. Like, come hang out with us because we have a whole new experience for you here on the podcast, and we would love for you to interact with us in this way. And then this is leading me to point number 2. Yesterday I was chatting with a friend and he's like, well, what was that? And I'm like, what? He's like, Candace, your face. I'm like, oh shit. I forgot I have one of those faces that just can't lie. Like, even if I wanted to, not that I want to, because I'm quite a direct person, but I'm like, I just have one of those faces. And it's funny for you to say that. Nothing is wrong and nothing is right. Let's start with that. I just have my own personal views from being burned from personal experiences, and not even my own experiences. Some of what I see in the industry now is because I've had so many clients come to me burned from like the exact same experiences. And it became a theme. And I'm like, holy smokes. Okay, this is a really big thing. How can we avoid this in my world? How can I help clients avoid that in their world? And it came down to like client delivery and just the way that we create high quality, high ticket spaces that aren't the generic programs and stuff like that. But that being said, what was the overall question again? Oh, the low ticket experiences. What do I think on it?
Yeah. The pitfalls of selling low ticket if you want this freedom-based business.
Yeah. It's not even that, if you are really into it, maybe you're like, there are no pitfalls. It's great. That's so good for you. Like, I'm so happy for you. The way I see it is, again, from a value-centered approach. If I value quality of life and quality experience and quality of time and quality of presence in every area of my life, so values go in your entire life so that they don't trickle into your business, like the misalignment, I would rather have 3 sales than have to worry about 33 or 300 sales. Oh, well, it's low ticket, so it should be easier. Like, that belief will rob you of so much quality of life and mental well-being, because sales psychology is sales psychology. psychology. Buyer needs are buyer needs. Whether you're selling something that is $44 or $440 or $40,000, they require the same things, just at different levels. How you speak to them changes. Also, the quality of client changes. And so that's something to really keep in mind. I have a client right now who's a private client, and she has stacked her calendar. And again, there's like nothing against approaches that clients are doing, but when they come to me, it's we only know what we know, right? And I was hired for a reason. So her calendar was stacked full of these single sessions, pretty common, especially in the health space. And, you know, she's making good money. She's making over 6 figures. But she's like, I have no life, no life. I don't even know what time I would find to restructure my business in general. And so she went from selling subscription one-on-one $285 bundles. So every month she'd get $285 from this one client that was she was seeing in a one-to-one setting. And now she's selling one-on-one programs for $5,700.
Let's go. Get your calculators out.
So there, do the calculations right there. Right there, do the calculations of the downfall to everything it was requiring for her to have these, like, let's say 16 one-on-one clients at $285, where she was like literally strapped, making capped income, burning out, starting to resent the types of clients she was attracting, people that were already telling her, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is already too much money, versus having people get on a call with her going forward that are like, oh yeah, sure, I'm in. Great. When can we start? Oh, you have a wait list? That's no problem. Can you just schedule in my start date and I'll see you then? Right? Having people fill out applications and claiming their spot, fully aware of what the investment is. You change who you're speaking to, you change who you're being, and you will change who you attract. And the only thing I want to say in regards to, like, again, higher ticket sales is going to really call on your money wounds, your lack of money mindset development, and you're going to have to work on that. But it will be for the benefit of your entire future and obviously your future generations. Like, I had to work through my money stuff. I had to work through who I was as somebody who made money, as somebody who sold and made sales and held onto money and made investments. Like, who am I as that person? That had to be developed. It's gonna eventually bottleneck you, but it also will in low ticket sales. So it'll keep you strapped to, oh my gosh, I have to make sure I post today, because if I don't post, I might not get that $33 sale. Or it's like, you know, we're celebrating because we got 10 sales this weekend, but it was only, you know, came to a total of $200. Okay, well, is that going to pay your mortgage? Is that going to pay your rent? Is that going to actually feed you as a quality coach, mentor, practitioner, entrepreneurial, anything? Is that actually feeding the way you show up? Is that, again, going to support you in overflowing from burnout or aliveness? And you have to make those decisions. So I'm not totally against, we have a membership. It's $197 a month. To me, it is like an absolute freaking no-brainer. I'm serving you twice a month in there. Like, we have coaching calls. Everybody gets a chance to talk, ask for feedback, whatever's going on. So you always know where to focus. You get access to our entire vault, which is literally what is still making me, you know, a very, very healthy income. Nothing in my business has changed in the last 3-4 years. So it is literally the structure that took me to 7 figures and has taken Kevin's been through like so many of our, like, this work never changes, but we're constantly adding in the mindset tools and the identity tools that you need. That being said, that's the lowest ticket offer I have, $197. And I have clients that will message me about the membership and I'll ask a question, but right away they're like, but can you tell me what the difference is between this and 6-figure coach? Because I feel like I want more access to you. And so I want to remind you that it is so much to do with your beliefs. Because if I believed, oh my gosh, like, they have to come into the membership first, like, you know, oh, I have to focus on low ticket sales to get reoccurring income, my life would be very different and probably not the most nourishing way. So I'm able to have reoccurring income that's actually high ticket instead of low ticket. And we're able to really go deep with these clients. We're able to really create huge change and impact. Hello, clients are like leaving their job, building crazy sustainability for themselves by mastering the foundations, by actually getting into what it takes to build a company that will hold you, not you holding up this company all the time. And I'm so behind that I'm so unapologetic in sharing that, and my audience understands it. So it comes back around to, it's how you show up and how you speak about it. Because if I was like, oh, here representing, because remember, you go first, that like low ticket's the way, and like the membership, which is still great. You guys know I have my little seasons where I go pretty hard inviting you into the membership, because hello, start somewhere. But it has so much to do with how I model things, how I show up, how I storytell like this, how all of the moving components to how I show up, how I sell, and how I deliver, that is also helping my audience see the value. So you're not just doing this for yourself, you're modeling something for your entire audience and training how they they want to purchase from you. So if you're always selling low ticket, when you go to sell higher ticket, you're going to have to speak to an entire different version of your audience. Therefore, they're going to have quite a few needs before they're like jumping in, so to speak, right? Now, that being said too, when clients come to me and we create the first high ticket experience, I'm like, be prepared, because you're going to have people in your audience that have stuck around because there's certain things you say that they align with, but they're always waiting for something more high level. I'm somebody who's like, I don't want your group, nothing. I don't want the noise. I don't want to have to scroll through a group chat of 400 messages. Like, I've been in masterminds, I've done all of the things. Now I'm like, can you just tell me the price to work with you one-on-one so we can get to the point? Like, I want the high level space. I want to go somewhere with you. I want to go deep. I want support. I don't want any noise. I want to just get to it and get going. So there are people like me in your audience that are waiting for you to own your work at a higher level, waiting to have access to you in some form or way. And it doesn't have to be selling your soul. It doesn't have to be, what you see as one-to-one. There's so many different ways you can give your audience more access to you and create high ticket, high level experiences. And we'll talk about that in probably the next episode because I have a lot to say on that, but there's nothing wrong and there's nothing right. It's more so, is what you're doing sustainable? Is what you're doing actually helping you feel alive? Is what you're doing and the prices you're doing it at actually in support of the mission? And if it's not, that's okay. Slow down for a second to speed up and ask yourself, what do you really want to be charging? What kind of experiences do you really want to deliver? Even if you've never seen it done in the industry yet, right? If you're still thinking you need a signature group program that's set up how everybody else's is, and, live group programs and live launching all the time, and you don't want to do that either, like, that's okay. You literally get to create your world. And the sooner you create it in alignment to you and how you want to be operating, the sooner you'll experience the life you actually want, not the life you think you need to have.
And no one's gonna buy from you if you're not living the life that, because nobody wants to follow in your footsteps if you're dragging your feet.
And lacking that like aliveness. Like, if I just think about even this podcast, if I wasn't excited to show up, you wouldn't be excited to listen. Like, simply
It'd be a shitty
put.
podcast if you weren't excited about,
really
about
shitty.
business energetics.
So that's the biggest piece is there's nothing's wrong, but the downfall would be the scalability, the quality of your life experience while you do it, and obviously making sure it's aligned for you.
Yeah. I would say the results too. I mean, I think that in my own personal experience, the people who come into high ticket programs are there because they're ready. They know what they need help with. They know where they want to go. They're ready to take action on it. They're ready to invest in themselves. Whereas a lot of people will do low ticket stuff. And I'm like, dude, this should just be part of the free content. And in fact, that is exactly what I do at this point. And there's tons of people in my space that are like, I love it. Like, oh my God, you have the best free content on the internet. Yeah. And I'm like, you're welcome, because you probably were never going to buy anything from me anyway. So you might as well have this. And then, as Candace was saying, a really good way to go about it is to sell the proximity, because then you can deliver the value and the goodwill and the grace that you want to give to the world without needing that to pay your bills. And then you can sell your time to the people who can actually give you money.
And want to. So what you said right there, like the results are different because the type of person you're attracting is somebody who actually executes. They're not like, oh, well, what's $40? They're like, okay, this is an investment. I'm taking this serious. And suddenly you will feel completely different showing up for that client and being of service because there's quality behind it. Like the quality in relationship, the quality in execution, the quality in, I call it business partnership in my world, like just in my line of work, but the quality of the whole thing, which brings us right to the outcome, dramatically changes.
And another Candaceism, we didn't have a word for that, but you talked about like energetic exchange and how when you charge, because like there was times where I was charging $600 to work with me, right? And then you have that client and you start meeting with them and you're running into problems and you inevitably get to a point where you're like, dude, I want this more than you do. Like I want your success more than you do. And that isn't helping either of us. Versus when you charge $6,000, you are ready to show up and give it your all. And they are ready to show up and give it their all. And you're both all in on their mission. Yeah. Gold. It's like, it's just the momentum is just completely different. And then again, it feeds right back into the aliveness. And it feeds right back into, I swear to God, in the same thing. Well, we gotta talk about the spa because like it's the work that's getting done when you're not working. It's like you're always working. You're either working on a client, or you're working on getting more clients, or you're working on yourself. And so if you're constantly working on getting more clients because you're selling low ticket and you need more clients, or you're constantly working on clients because the clients themselves are not working hard enough on themselves, then you don't have enough space to work on yourself. And it's just, I think the whole thing, Candace said it so nicely. I think I would, don't sell low ticket. Like it's not going to build the freedom that you want, but that's just me.
The thing is, I've gotten to a point where I now respect everybody's journey. Like I'm not going to sit here and convince you on what to do for quality of life, but I will sure as hell show you. And you can watch and you can take notes until you're like, you know what? I'm done playing. I'm done playing. And I like what you said, because you're either you're working on your business, you're working to get more clients, or you're working on yourself. And I created a reality where I got 60% of my time back to work on myself. So just imagine what that meant for my service. Imagine what that meant for my mission, for my team members, for my children, for everything, for my future, for my thought processes, the investments I make. I now have the space to think through everything. I'm not operating from fear, scarcity, burnout. I'm operating from nourishment, wholeness. And that's because, again, I have a high emphasis on high value exchanges. So I like what you said there too. I'm trying to think back what exactly you said, the high level exchange. Oh, when you are charging, I have so many client stories I could share, holy smokes. When you go from making $1,200 a month to $6,000 in one sale, which I see a lot of and help a lot of clients bridge that gap, right? When you're doing that, you can't help. You are naturally going to show up as your best damn self for that client. You are going to take your work so seriously. You are suddenly going to have a non-negotiable boundaries. You're going to very quickly recognize where you need to work on yourself, where you need to, okay, I need 20 minutes before every call, before anything I do in my business. I need to make sure my energy is clean. I want to make sure my mind is set. I feel good. I'm recognized. Whatever the case is, you're going to be at your best. And if you are in a situation where you're selling, really low ticket experiences, let's say, and I'm going to just go ahead and say devaluing your own time. I always tell clients when we're talking about money and we're talking about pricing, I love when we get to talk about pricing on our first call and we're like setting up your business model or restructuring it, right? And I'm like, hey, now tell me what you would charge for this, because all your money shit comes up within minutes. And I just sit back and I wait to hear, well, and you hear it all. I'm like, okay, this is where we're going to start our work, right? We've got the nitty gritty down. Cool. We got your structure. Now let's get to work on you. And this is a game changer. And I always tell clients, I'm not going to tell you what price to charge. I'm going to have a conversation with you and we're going to workshop this and workshop a price that makes sense, but that your body can currently get behind. And what we'll know, I probably told you this too. I tell every single client, within 4 clients, you will know if that price is too low. You'll never reach a point where, oh my gosh, the price is too high. You will never reach a point where you're like, oh my gosh, like I need to lower the price. You will always feel it right away. I need to charge more. I'm getting bitter, or I'm getting frustrated. I'm feeling exhausted. This just doesn't feel worth it. You will always reach a point. It's usually within 4 clients coming into that experience. So 4 sale exchanges, depending on what type of offer you're selling, and you will feel it. You will know. And then that's when, okay, we work a little bit more on the money mindset, clean it up, raise the price. We do more work on a money mindset. You kind of feel like, I feel like I need to raise the price. Okay, what are we thinking? And we workshop it. We get you feeling solid and we keep going. And it's not that we're always just forever increasing the prices. Most of my offers, the prices haven't increased in a couple of years. And I'm actually okay with that because the exchange still feels clean and clear. The moment it doesn't, it goes up, right? So it really is so much about the awareness as well, and being able to, again, have the support, have the feedback, have the direction so that you feel safe to make these changes, to develop yourself as a business owner, not just a slave. And I feel like that probably brings us to the spa vibes a little bit.
I mean, let's jump to, let me, if I can interject. I have a client story. It's me. I'm the client. And my entire life changed. So if you saw the last episode, I talked about how I came into Candace's program a couple years ago. I was doing maybe 4K a month. I mean, like you said, it's 4 to 6, kind of bouncing around, sometimes 1, sometimes, but so I was like right around there. And then we had this session, as you just described. And shortly after that, I sold my first 9K package. And that changed my entire life forever. That changed the way that I saw myself. It changed the way that I showed up for everybody, my family, even like people who had never paid me, people who didn't even know that I ran a business. It changed the way that I ordered a coffee, you know?
Yes.
It just changed the way that I like carried myself in every aspect of my life. And so again, like I'll put it more point blank of just like, and she's right. There's no right, there's no wrong. God's not mad at you. It's not like that. But like
Kevin will give it to you straight.
as soon as you charge what you're really worth and somebody pays you what you're really worth and you really deliver on what you charge them for, that completes the circuit within your business. Okay, tell us about the spa.
I love what we need. Okay, take note of that, Kevin. We're having a whole podcast on this, like how high ticket sales actually change our whole life. Okay, can we please? Because I feel like everyone's like, give me more of that. I'm frothing. But really, you guys see me. Oh my gosh, you see me. I'll do all sorts of things. Having slow mornings, going to the spa in the afternoons. You see me living at the beach with the kids. You see me booking flights instead of dates. You see me doing all sorts of things. You see me manifesting the house, by the way, guys. Anybody from the last podcast, let me just remind. That. Yeah. Oh, I figured I was waiting for it in Boxer, but I was like, he's waiting for the podcast. I know what he's doing. So house is mine. Okay.
Hey.
Like, right? we're not shocked. We're celebrating, we're grateful, and we're like, yes, of course. More, please, yes, please. So I want to just preference all of that. You see me do all of these things, but none of it's because of luck. Like I don't come from money. I don't come from parents that are crazy supportive. I don't have the healthiest of relationship with my parents, to be completely honest. It's something that's ever evolving and has sure as heck come a long way in the last 4 years. But like, I don't have this crazy, glamorous life or upbringing. I am just somebody who lives in a really small town with one stoplight who decided, holy, I can't get rid of this feeling that there's something really big out there for me. And I went towards creating that in the simplest of ways that I could. And so I got really firm on what can hold me so I can be free. And the reason you're not free is because you don't have the structures in place to hold the freedom you want. A solid foundation will create solid freedom. If you don't have the solid foundation, you are constantly, I call it going up top. You are constantly going up into your mind and you are going to spiral every day. Making breakfast, you're thinking about it. Out with your kids, you're thinking about it. Shopping, you're thinking about it. Going to bed, you're thinking about it. Waking up, you're thinking about it. In the shower, you're thinking about it. You are never free. You are never free. And I hear from clients all the time, oh my gosh, I think the biggest transition for me so far is that I'm actually not spiraling. And when you have that space, you unlock creativity, you unlock aliveness, you unlock your heart's truest desires of like, well, what do I want to do more of for me? Like, what does that look like for me? And yesterday I wrapped up, it was like 1:30 or something. And I mentioned meeting with my friend yesterday. So met up with my friend for coffee. And then I was like, I think I'm just going to go to the spa. And I laid on the hot stone beds. I went in the sauna, the steam room, the hot tub, signed papers for the house, came home, chatted with my neighbor, made myself a dinner, and I was in bed by 9 o'clock. Like, you see me at the spa a lot. You see me at the beach a lot, but it's not because I'm not working. It's because what I'm doing in those hours is taking care of me, taking care of my energy, doing something for myself. One of my biggest things I ask clients, what are you doing to celebrate? What are you doing for you? Right? So I had a client like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to actually start scheduling something in. I'm like, please do. And then see what that does for you. So the spa, you see that, you see the glamorous lifestyle, but I want you to know that I had to be responsible and intentional in order for me to build the foundations to have the freedom to be like, I'm going to go to the spa. You know what? It's getting cold out. I live in Canada. I'm like, I'm going to get a membership to the spa, which is a luxurious expense that an old version of me would have been like, could you imagine being that type of person who could, right? Like I never came from that. That's not a normal purchase or an investment into myself that I would have been able to make 5 years ago. And now I see it as that. It's an investment into myself for me, my health, my quality of life, my kids, my business, my impact, everything that I do, because I know where it ripples into. So I set my business up so I could make these decisions eventually. And nothing, I shared it earlier, nothing has really changed. Nothing has really changed other than who I am, how I lead myself, how I think, how I believe. That's the parts that have changed. And those are continuously evolving and, we're tweaking. We've changed things in the sense of like, well, now there's TikTok's a thing and now I share some TikToks and only as of recently, really, we make changes like this, things that I know are going to enhance your experience, because I care about quality of impact, quality of results, and quality of life. And I want to make sure it's feeding that, because if it's not feeding the quality of anything, I don't want it. I don't want it. It's noise, it's bullshit, or it's fluff, and it's not necessary. So that's kind of how I view it. And that's how I've been able to kind of create that reality. One of the girls at the spas last night, I think she thought that I was just like a trophy wife. And she's like, well, she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just answering a client quick. She's like, a client? And like, yeah, like it just turned into such a cool conversation, because I'm like, it's so interesting to see how the world sees me, you know? And everyone's always so curious and asking questions like, how are you here? It's 10 a.m. I'm like, well, it's come for a sauna. And I just do my own thing. I'm not here to like convince somebody of my life or my lifestyle or my choices. I'm just here to simply be. And again, so much of that has come from kind of what you said. Like, you change so much when you're like, yeah, like I can own this mission and I can get that exchange for the value that I put out there. And it truly does change how you speak to people, how you show up, the presence that you have, like absolutely everything that you do. And for me, to wrap this full circle, it really supported me being softer. It really supported me being more present, more patient, right? It really support more glowy, right? We had a nice sauna session, a little steamy room last night. Like, it really supports everything that I do, every decision I make, every experience I give my kids, all of it.
That's amazing. And bringing it all back full circle, all the way back to the soccer area. I was on the edge of my seat with the I was like, dude, I want to be a trophy wife. Shit.
Right. Kevin's trophy wife era.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, so good.
Okay, future millionaires, thanks for hanging out with me in today's episode. I cannot wait to hear your takeaways from it. If you haven't yet, take a quick screenshot and share this to your stories. Tag me so I can shout you out for elevating and showing up for yourself. I want you to remember, you were born deserving of a wealthy life, and now it's time to create it.